bullpen meltdown late in game two, then the Phillies would have this series already wrapped up. Really, they've got to feel like they should have swept the Braves. No pitching staff has a better ERA in these playoffs than do the Phils. They've held the Braves to just 7 runs total in 3 games, including only one in the first 5 innings. So they're really doing their job. And I got to say, you look at the price for game four. I know Strider is on the mound. We'll talk about him momentarily, but I don't think this price accurately reflects what we've seen through the first 3 games. I know the Braves had that incredible regular season, but you touched on it, Steve. That hasn't helped any of the higher seeds really so far in the LDS. The Astros got through as a higher seed, but the other two did not. I know hits were pretty even yesterday, 11-10 in Philly's favor, but remember, the Braves only had 4 hits in game two, managed 5 runs. So that doesn't really bother me that hits were pretty close to even, nor does it bother me that Spencer Strider has dominated the Phillies in the regular season in his career. I know the Braves have not lost back-to-back Strider starts all season, but Strider's 0-2 all time in the playoffs against the Phillies. Pitched well in game one, but last year here in Philly, we all remember what happened. Gave up 5 runs in just 2 1/3 innings. Of all the stadiums in the league right now, I think there's a legit home field edge at Citizens Bank Park relative to the other stadiums. It just feels like the Phillies have an edge here. So I don't think it's a lock. Strider dominates tonight. And I wouldn't want to back Ranger Suarez first 5 against Strider necessarily, but the Phillies are 4-0 his last 4 starts. And in game one, he allows just 1 hit in 3 2/3. He's probably not going to be asked to go very long tonight either. And the Phillies bullpen is in good shape. Last night, Braves left Bryce Elder out too long, obviously. I don't expect that to be the case with Suarez here for Philly. I made a bad move in game two, betting Phillies full game when I should have stuck with their obvious edge they had in the first 5 with Wheeler. But here, guys, I think backing the Phillies to finish off the series is the right move at this price. I'm taking the Phillies tonight as underdogs to send the Braves packing.
Woo! That means all 3 100-win teams would not even advance to the championship round. Eric Pauly, WagerTalk.com. Not only would that be incredible, but we have yet to see an elimination game in any round. I mean, all 4 wild card series were 2-0 sweeps. We've talked about the Dodgers and Orioles getting swept. Astros got it done 3 out of 4. Are we going to finally see an elimination game? Do the Braves force a game 5 here, which would be on Saturday?
So this is a series where myself and the Gold Sheet team, we have not taken a side on any single game in this series. And that's because if you would have told me right now that the Braves, swept the Phillies or 1-4, 1-5 games, I wouldn't have batted an eye. If you would have told me before the series started that the Phillies would have swept the Braves for 1-4 or 5 games, I wouldn't have batted an eye either. Now we're gone to this crucial matchup. Phillies can win in the series in advance right now at home tonight. Obviously, the big guns are out for the Braves. The Spencer Strider's on the bump. Ranger Suarez has great metrics against the Braves in his career, and I think they did a great job by utilizing that in game one and by throwing him in game one. And now we just have a rematch of that. I don't have a side play on this matchup whatsoever. Again, like if you would have told me right now that the Braves come back and win 2 more games, I'm not blinking. You tell me the Phillies win tonight, I'm not blinking. But the one bet that I would look at today, and it's something that we do play for the gold sheet, we'll tweet it out because obviously only one game tonight, and don't have any like 2, 3, 4, 5% plays, of course, on this game tonight. I would have to look at Spencer Strider under strikeouts tonight. Now the juice is really high. It's 8.5, depending where you look, 7.5 plus money, other spots. I would definitely like to look to get that 8.5 if you want to get in on that. And the reason being is obviously in baseball, when hitters see more pitches and have more familiarity with the pitchers and their stuff, it's easier for them to get hits on said pitcher. Of course, Strider and the Phillies have a very long history of not just playing each other a couple of days ago, but have seen Strider multiple times throughout the course of the season and his last 2 seasons as a great starting pitcher. And asking to get up 9 strikeouts now, I know it's a spot where Strider's going balls to the wall, right? If he is throwing, he's even at a high pitch count, he is going to be allowed to stay in basically until his arm's falling off or the Braves have hopefully in their situation, an insurmountable lead. But the Phillies offense knows what they're seeing from Strider. They know what to expect from Strider. They've been a relatively high contact rate team all season long. You're going to be getting that fastball, and this team with that crowd behind them, they can certainly have a situation where they can jump out on Strider. Now, again, if you did tell me that Strider pitches 8 scoreless, I'm also not going to blink. So it would be a small wager looking at Strider's under 8.5 Ks, but also not dying to run to the counter to fade the Braves franchise strikeout leader. I'm just hoping we have a hell of a game tonight, not a 10-2 beatdown. I would love, can't wait to watch this one alongside Thursday Night Football, but should be a great game. And whoever does win tonight and win the series, probably licking their lips so they get to go play the Arizona Diamondbacks in the next series. That's something we'll discuss next week on First Pitch, but I just hope we have a great baseball game tonight.
Yeah, do we dare say this is the NLCS? Because, like you said, Eric, it's going to be a letdown, a step down against the D-backs. At least it should be on paper. But then again, the Dodgers get swept 3-0. D-backs are 5-0 now in the postseason. And, we talked about in the preseason show that the rule changes are going to benefit certain teams. My play-on team in the American League was the Texas Rangers. They have a lot of left-handed hitters. They're a good base running team. The Marlins, who are a little misleading this year, they didn't deserve to be in the playoffs, but they also overachieved. But a lot of people are talking about the D-backs. They're a team that can play a little bit of Moneyball style, advanced run. So maybe not a shock they're here. And some of the big boys, Atlanta, Dodgers, Orioles have struggled. But then again, they didn't struggle in the regular season. All three had over 100 wins. So, it's just one of those things. Baseball postseason is so strange because this is only a 5-game series. They play 162 games, double what the NHL and the NBA play, yet they only get 3-game and 5-game series when all those other leagues have 7-game series from the start. And I think that's another reason we see such randomness here in the postseason, as we've seen for many years. All right, that's a breakdown of Game 4 tonight. NLDS, 8 o'clock Eastern on TBS. Braves at Phillies. By the way, if you check the WagerTalk live odds screen, you can see the adjusted series prices right now for this. Right now, Phillies are about a 225 favorite to win one of these next 2 games. Braves plus 185 to win both games. That basically means that the Phillies have a 67% chance of advancing. The Braves have a favorite edge tonight, but they only have a 33% chance of winning both games tonight and Saturday if it comes to that. Let's turn our attention, though, guys, a little sneak peek to ALCS Game 1 on Sunday. So we got a couple days here. Rangers, Astros, and once again, checking the WagerTalk live odds screen. Astros are currently a $1.40 home favorite to win the series. They have home field advantage here. Take back plus 120 on those Rangers, who they know very well from the American League West. Isn't it something, guys? And by the way, that comes out to about a 56.5% chance the Astros should win the series based on those prices, minus 140, plus 120. Isn't it ironic, though, that the American League East has nobody and the American League West has both teams? And Brian, I'll start with you here. Just some initial thoughts. We don't necessarily know the pitching rotation for sure, but a couple days away still. I'm seeing at least some advanced prices right now. Astros around that minus 140, exactly the same as the series. And we're looking at like a 9 under, 8.5 over, most likely for the total, Brian.
Yeah, interesting that, there was so much discourse. You just kind of brought it up, Steve, as well, hinted at it, that, these teams that got to buy into the LDS, they had to sit idle while the teams in the wild card round got to continue their routine. We won't see that here now with the extended time off for both teams. One thing that's interesting, though, is, home field advantage. What does it mean here in the playoffs? Houston has a losing home record this year, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. The Rangers, their road record isn't that impressive, but they have outscored opponents by a full run per game on the road. They had a better run differential in the regular season than the Astros. The things that give me pause, though, about taking Texas, because looking at this price, I kind of was tempted to go with Texas and predict them to move on to the World Series. But outside of Jordan Montgomery, I'm not in love with the starting rotation. I'm certainly not in love with the bullpen either for Texas. And Houston, well, we know they've been here before. 7th straight ALCS. That's a remarkable achievement when you consider sort of the randomness you just mentioned that occurs in the baseball playoffs. And something I'd like to throw in, and you guys could touch on this if you'd like, or you don't have to. When you talk about the randomness that we see in the playoffs, maybe it has less to do with, rest or not rest, and the regular season just not being indicative of postseason baseball, because you have a lot of these good teams that just get to beat up on the bottom third of the league, and they beat up on the back ends of the rotation. And that's just not the way postseason baseball works. You're always facing top flight starters. The starters have short leashes. So I think that's something that has kind of gone underappreciated when everyone's sort of been lamenting these favorites uh, going out early here in the playoffs. But my initial lean is I think at the price for the ALCS, Texas is tempting at that price. And they also, it should be noted, have revenge. They were destroyed in Arlington in a 3-game series late in the regular season, outscored 12-3, 14-1, and 13-6 in those 3 games. That contributed, obviously, to Houston winning this division and not Texas. But the Rangers will be out for revenge. The Astros have had their number in recent years, but I don't know. I kind of like the price on the Rangers here.
Yeah, once again, they're about plus $1.20 to win the series, and it could be about $1.25 or so in game one, it looks like, on Sunday. And to Brian's point about the regular season, Eric, I think 162 games, it's just a war of attrition, right? I mean, it's these deeper teams have their fourth or fifth starter, maybe better bullpens, and that doesn't come into play as much when you're using your top 2 or 3 starters. I did talk about bullpen, though, last week, and I said the Orioles had the edge with the bullpen. Of course, that didn't matter. They get swept by the Rangers, but I blame Dave Sharapan because he was on Wager Talk Today a couple weeks ago with me and Teddy Covers, and he was pointing out how about 50% of the innings pitched the last 3 years for the World Series champs have come from the bullpen and how important it is now in the playoffs. And I'll bring that back up because Brian referenced the Rangers bullpen. Look at the regular season. I believe Houston was 6th best ERA bullpen, the Rangers 24th. Now, if you look at their whips, they were like 9th and 12th, so it's a little closer. But ERA, a pretty big difference. Eric, how important do you think that is? By the way, Rangers 3 games below 500 against winning teams. Astros 1 game below 500 this year against winning teams. Should be a pretty good matchup here. It looks pretty even overall, and that's what the series price is saying as well.
Yeah, so before I get into it, I just wanted to mention like just the fact of just the MLB in general. So you have a sport that is completely predicated on statistics, and in order for statistics to be meaningful, you need large sample sizes. That's exactly what an 162 game season provides for you. Then you get to October, and you're talking about a 3 game and 5 game, and just even 7 game series are not enough games to show who really is the best team. So it's just something to consider when it comes to betting postseason baseball in the future. Is you have again a game predicated on long-term statistics with meaningful sample sizes that then come down to momentum and short sample sizes and what happens in a vacuum for the end of the season. So definitely something to consider because the best teams do not always win in baseball, not even close, as we've seen. And we might see another great team lose, arguably the best team in the Braves later tonight. But this is a series where I'm just so fond of both these teams. Our producer Robert behind the scenes, we've been doing shows for the last month, and every single time we hop on a show, whether it be first pitch, a different show, I tell him how I'm betting the Astros because I was holding an Astros to win the West ticket when they were back a couple of games, like 7 or 8 games behind the Rangers right before the All-Star break got in. So I was rooting for that all season. And I also got in when the Rangers were struggling on a Rangers World Series future. So obviously I have some stock in the Rangers. I bet them in almost every game, 2 of the 3 against the Orioles. I bet them in the round before that. So these are 2 teams that have treated me so nicely over the last couple of months or so of the season that I'm big fans of both these teams. Now these teams deserve a ton of credit for everything. So the Houston Astros, and the reason why I backed them to win the division when I did, think about the injuries they have to deal with. Yes, every team deals with injuries, but Altuve missed 2 months, Jordan missed 2 months. They get anything out of Luis Garcia or Urquidy was banged up. They're relying on Hunter Brown, JP France, 2 good players. Hunter Brown, I think, is a great future in the MLB. Relying on these young pitchers, and then you have Javier, who pitched like pretty poorly most of the season. Framber Valdez was not Framber for the vast majority of the season. And then now you finally, when it came down to the critical moments, Javier is dealing. Framber could do better, but the offense is alive and humming and healthy. On the other hand, the Texas Rangers go out. They get Jacob deGrom. Looked amazing to start. Gets hurt, unfortunately. They go and double down on the Mets' old pitchers. They get Max Scherzer. He was dealing with some injuries. In a perfect world, he maybe can make this roster. I'm not sure if he can. But this offense is just so relentless and so good. And the problem I have with the Astros here is they can do some better things with their construction for this ALCS roster because they didn't have a single left-handed pitcher in their bullpen against the Twins. They found an advantage there. And the Astros are one of the best, if not, frankly, the best scouting and advanced metrics team in the entire MLB. You don't make 7 straight ALCSs without having an amazing front office that is doing more in the analytics department rather than whatever the Blue Jays claimed they were doing in that first round. Don't have a play on the series just quite yet. I want to see how these rosters come out, how these pitching rotations go out. The edge definitely with me lies with the Houston Astros because of the lineup and the pitching staff combination. But as we've seen in baseball, momentum is a huge thing. Both these teams have the momentum. They have the experience overall lies with the Astros, but you also have a guy like Corey Seager on the Rangers who I don't know if you guys saw when they won that game and everybody was going crazy on the field. He had a blank stare. Like he is a true gamer and he just wants to win. I hate to be so not actionable, but I just absolutely think that these are the two best teams in the AL going at it, which I think is just great for the sport of baseball. And I think we should be in for a hell of a series.
Yeah, you mentioned Corey Seager, by the way. The advanced look right now at AL MVP odds for the AL Championship Series. You've got Seager right now at about 5.5 to 1, and then Alvarez from the Astros, it's 5.5 to 1 as well. They're the two favorites from each team. And then Bryce Harper's in the World Series MVP odds with those guys, and he's also the favorite right now for the NLCS since the Phillies have a 67% chance of being there, winning one of the next two games. And isn't it crazy, guys? We talk about the randomness of these playoffs and how crazy it's been, yet most likely outcome right now is going to be a rematch of last year's World Series between the Phillies and Astros. It's probably below 50% still, but it's the most likely of all the scenarios. And that's how this usually works out. We see it in March Madness, right? All the Cinderella stories sometimes even get to the Final Four, the finals now, but they never win it. It always comes back to reality. And the Astros, as Eric, you said, they were 8 games back. They kind of snuck into the postseason, and now they're turning it on. So looks like we're heading towards a Phillies Astros rematch, but we got a lot of ground to cover still. And viewers, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Who do you think is going to win not only Game 4 between the Braves and Phillies tonight on Thursday, Game 1 on Sunday between the Astros and Rangers, but also who thinks is going to win this whole thing, including those MVP odds that I referenced? Comment below, give us a thumbs up, a like, hit subscribe and the bell for instant alerts as well. And since we have a couple minutes left, we're going to go back around and do some quick promos. I want to let everyone know I do have a college football top 25 video coming up later today on Thursday. NFL Fade the Public will be up on Friday. And I do have a strong best bet tonight in Game 4, so I'm going to hold that for my personal clients. It's available right now on my page if you'd like to check it out. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. And Bryan Power, you and I did a lot of solo videos. Eric did some as well this week for all the college football top 25. Every NFL game is covered. And you've got a great promo code as well. Power 30 gets a 30-day all access for $229. Tell us about it.
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. Last October was a great month for me. Finished number one at Wager Talk, 87, 54, and 3 overall. We ended the MLB playoffs on a 16-4 run. So we're looking to run it back again here in 2023. Power 30, as you said, get you the next 30 days for $229, just $7.40 per day. That will take you all the way through the World Series. Of course, I am number one with 5% plays going back to last bowl season. We've won 5 in a row, including Arizona State, just by a hair on Saturday. We're going to be loading them up for Saturday and Sunday here soon. Football weekend. I have plays in both NFL and college for Thursday. I already gave you the Phillies for tonight. That is a client play. But if you go to my page right now, you can get both Thursday night football winners plus my Friday college football winner for just $29 if you want to try out for the next 2 days. But if you want to lock in long term, code POWER30 is the way to go to get that 30-day all access pass.
And don't forget basketball. We're talking baseball, we're talking football, but basketball right around the corner. Brian's a great basketball capper. And Brian, I think of you every week. I've referenced you the last couple weeks in my college football top 25 video because 2 weeks in a row I've had just a bit outside games from the top 25 in which we've had unranked favorites against ranked teams.
Yes.
Kentucky beat Florida 2 weeks ago, and last week UCLA did it against Washington State. So it's an angle you and I followed in college hoops this past spring. It's working in college football as well. So once again, all sports, all access, 30 days with Power 30. Bryan Power, WagerTalk.com. And then Eric Polly, part of GoldSheet.com at WagerTalk.com. And Eric, Goldsheet's off to a great run in baseball here at the start of the playoffs. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so since October 4th, second day of the postseason, the team is up 12.61 units, a 61.5% return on investment, and a 61.5% winning percentage throughout those games. Not much to be said. Like I just told you guys there, it was betting on the Astros and betting on the Rangers have been the real two profitable things for us. I mentioned for tonight, looking at Strider under 8.5 Ks, we'll tweet that out if that becomes anything that we do give to our all access clients. And another thing that we would be looking at as well would be just anything Ronald Acuna, Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, total bases. Like the stars need to shine tonight. Not sure how we're going to eventually play. Going to have to run through the numbers again quickly to see which ones we project to go over their total bases or have one or more hits that we can get maybe a little like plus even money, two players to get a hit kind of parlay. That's also been something that has been working. But like Brian mentioned and like Steve mentioned, basketball's around the corner. College football, NFL, obviously in full swing. MLB wrapping up, but we have two amazing series is coming up, and then of course the World Series. So if you want a newsletter of all football breakdowns for every single game, NFL and college, head over to goldsheet.com for the newsletter. And if you're somebody who wants just the picks, wagertalk.com, the Gold Sheet. That's myself and the team, all of our picks across all sports.
Eric Pauley, part of the goldsheet.com. And you can find him also at wagertalk.com. And great show, gentlemen. Appreciate you being on board here. And once again, check out all those solo videos. Myself, Steve Merrill, Brian Power, Eric Pauley with the Gold Sheet. We all did some college football and NFL. Eric's pretty quick to take the Commanders, which I appreciate because we all know they're not my Washington Commanders. And he does a great job with those previews, talking about a team that I once cared about decades ago, gentlemen. Hey, great show. College football today will be up later this afternoon on Thursday and tomorrow on Friday. Don't forget about Wager Talk today as well. I was actually on earlier today with Teddy and the Prez. Watch that replay right here on Wager Talk TV. And once again, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell for instant alerts when all the videos and shows go live. Thumbs up, like, and most importantly, leave us some comments below. Let us know your thoughts on the AL and the NL here in the playoffs. Who's going to win it all and who's going to make the advancement to the NL Championship Series when it's all said and done. Thanks for watching. Best of luck. We'll talk to you again soon right here on Wager Talk TV.